Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. I'm Emily.
And I'm David. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our daily episodes.
David, you look a little wet today. Your jacket is damp. What happened?
Oh, you noticed that? Well, this morning I had a meeting with a client at a coffee shop across town, and the weather was absolutely terrible.
Really? Was it raining that badly?
Yes, it was. Not the light, peaceful drizzle that people sometimes enjoy. It was the kind of rain that comes at you sideways with strong wind.
Wow, that sounds awful. And you still went to the meeting?
I did, although I really didn't want to go. I stood at my front door looking outside and my whole body was telling me stay home, send an email instead.
I can imagine that feeling. Rainy days make everyone want to stay inside.
Exactly. But the client is very important for my work, so despite the terrible rain, I grabbed my jacket, put on my shoes, and walked to the bus stop.
That shows serious dedication, David.
Maybe dedication or maybe desperation. I'm still not sure which one it was.
So what happened when you arrived at the coffee shop?
Well, by the time I got there, I was completely soaked. My shoes were making that squeaky sound on the floor. Water was dripping from my hair, and everyone in the coffee shop was staring at me.
That must have been embarrassing.
It definitely was. And then the client looked at me and said something surprising.
What did they say?
They said, "Oh, we could have done this meeting on Zoom."
No way. Are you serious?
Yes, completely serious. I walked for 30 minutes in heavy rain for a meeting that could have been a simple video call.
That is both funny and a little tragic.
However, the coffee at the shop was really good, so the trip was not a total loss.
David, did you notice something interesting about what you just said?
What do you mean?
In your story, you used three very important contrast words, although, despite, and however.
Wait, really? I didn't even notice that.
Yes, you said, although I didn't want to go, I went anyway. Then you said, despite the rain, I grabbed my jacket. And finally, however, the coffee was really good.
Now that you mention it, you're right. But aren't those words basically the same?
They express a similar idea, contrast or something unexpected, but they follow different grammar rules.
Oh no, grammar rules again?
Don't worry, David. It's actually simpler than it sounds. Let's start with although, because it's the easiest one.
Great, I like easy.
The word although basically means the same thing as but or even though. It introduces a contrast between two ideas.
Can you give an example?
Sure. For example, although it was raining, we went for a walk.
So it's similar to saying, it was raining, but we went for a walk.
Exactly. The meaning is the same. The only difference is the position of the contrast.
That makes sense.
Here's an important rule. After although, you always need a full sentence, a subject and a verb.
So something like, although I was tired.
Perfect. That's a complete clause. Let me give a few examples. Although I was tired, I finished the project. Although she studied hard, she didn't pass the exam. Although the food was cold, we still enjoyed the meal.
I see the pattern now. There's always someone doing something.
Exactly. That's the key point.
And can although appear in different parts of the sentence?
Yes, that's one of the nice things about it. It can appear at the beginning or in the middle.
Really?
Yes, for example, although I was tired, I finished the project. I finished the project although I was tired.
That's flexible. I like flexible grammar.
Most English learners do.
And what about even though? Is it different from although?
Actually, they mean exactly the same thing in most situations.
So they are interchangeable?
Yes, for example, even though it was raining, we went outside. Although it was raining, we went outside.
Same meaning, different words.
Exactly. You can think of them as grammar twins.
Good to know, David. That means one less grammar rule to worry about.
Yes, I always like hearing that something is simple. Well, now the conversation gets even more interesting. Let's talk about the word despite.
Despite. That word sounds a little fancier than although.
You're right, it does sound a bit more formal, but people actually use it all the time in everyday English conversations.
Really? I always thought it was only used in formal writing.
Not at all. Native speakers use it very naturally. But there is one very important rule about despite, and this is where many English learners make mistakes.
Okay, now you have my full attention. What's the rule?
The rule is simple but very important. After despite, you cannot use a full sentence. Instead, you must use a noun or a gerund, an ing word.
Wait, hold on. That sounds a little confusing. So I can't say something like, despite I was tired.
Exactly. That sentence is incorrect. Despite I was tired is one of the most common mistakes learners make.
Then how should I say it correctly?
You should say something like, despite being tired, or despite my tiredness.
Oh, I see. So after despite, we need a noun or an ing form, not a full sentence.
That's exactly right. Let me give you a clear example. Instead of saying, despite it was raining, we went out, you should say, despite the rain, we went out.
Now I can hear the difference. The rain is a noun, so it works after despite.
Exactly. Or you can use a gerund. For example, despite being tired, she continued working.
So the structure is much shorter than although.
Yes, that's an important difference. Although needs a full clause with a subject and a verb, but despite cannot have a clause.
So in a way, their grammar rules are almost opposite.
That's a great way to think about it. Once you understand this rule, you'll rarely confuse them again.
My brain is starting to organize this information nicely.
Good. Let me give you a few more examples so the pattern becomes clearer.
I'm ready.
Listen carefully. Despite the noise, I fell asleep quickly. Despite working late, she was still cheerful the next morning. Despite his age, he runs every morning in the park.
I noticed something. In each example, despite is followed by either a noun or an ing word.
Exactly. That's the golden rule.
So it should be, despite the traffic, I arrived late, not despite there was traffic.
Perfect correction. You're getting the idea very quickly.
Honestly, I feel like my brain just cleaned a messy desk drawer. Everything suddenly has its place.
That's the best feeling when learning a language.
It really is.
Now let's do a quick practice exercise. I will say a sentence with although, and you will convert it into a sentence using despite.
Sounds like a challenge. I'm ready.
First sentence. Although the weather was bad, we had fun.
Okay. Despite the bad weather, we had fun.
Perfect. You changed the weather was bad into the bad weather, which is a noun phrase.
That actually feels quite natural.
Great. Let's try another one. Although he didn't have any experience, he got the job.
Let me think. Despite not having any experience, he got the job.
Excellent. That sentence is completely correct.
I used not having with the ing form.
Yes, and that's another useful pattern. The ing form can also be negative.
So we can say things like, despite not knowing anyone, she went to the party. Despite not sleeping well, he still felt energetic.
Exactly. You can clearly see the pattern. Despite plus not plus verbing.
I can almost feel that structure locking into my brain like a key turning in a lock.
That's a great sign. Now there's another phrase that works exactly like despite.
Really? What's that?
The phrase is in spite of.
In spite of. That's 3 words.
Yes, 3 words, but the meaning is exactly the same as despite.
So they are interchangeable.
Completely interchangeable. For example, in spite of the rain, we went outside. Despite the rain, we went outside.
Same meaning, just different wording.
Exactly. Here's another example. In spite of being tired, I kept studying. Despite being tired, I kept studying.
The structure stays the same.
Yes, and the rule also stays the same. After in spite of, you must also use a noun or an ing form, never a full clause.
I think your explanation helped a lot. At first it felt confusing, but now it makes sense.
That's normal when learning grammar. Just remember one simple idea. Despite and in spite of are basically the same word wearing different outfits.
I like that description. Same word, different outfits.
Exactly.
So, what's the third word we're learning today?
The third word is however.
Ah, yes, however. That one sounds the most formal.
You're right. However is generally the most formal of the three.
And does it follow the same grammar rule as although or despite?
Actually, no. It works in a completely different way.
Really?
Yes. However is not used inside the same sentence. Instead, it connects two separate sentences.
So it's more like a bridge between two separate thoughts.
Exactly. It links two complete thoughts while showing contrast. So, David, you can think of however as a bridge between two complete thoughts.
A bridge. I like that image. It sounds simple and easy to remember.
Yes, exactly. Imagine two separate sentences standing on opposite sides of a river. The word however acts like the bridge that connects them. That actually makes a lot of sense. For example, it was raining. However, we went for a walk.
I noticed something there. Those are clearly two complete sentences.
Right. The first sentence is, it was raining. Then the second sentence begins with however, followed by a comma.
So the pattern is sentence, however, sentence.
Exactly. That is one of the most common ways to use however.
But I think I've also seen however in the middle of a sentence sometimes.
You're right, that is possible, but the punctuation becomes more complicated.
Uh-oh, punctuation rules.
Don't worry, it's not too scary. For example, it was raining, however, we went for a walk.
I see the semicolon before however.
Yes, the correct structure is semicolon plus however plus comma.
So the punctuation really matters when using however.
Absolutely. Good punctuation helps readers clearly understand the relationship between the two ideas.
I think I might have made a mistake with this before.
What kind of mistake?
I remember writing something like, however it was raining, we went out.
That's actually a very common error among English learners.
So that sentence is wrong?
Yes, because however cannot be used like although.
Ah, now I see the problem.
The correct way would be, it was raining, however, we went out.
Two separate sentences again.
Exactly. However stands on its own. It doesn't lean on another clause the way although does.
Let me try an example. The project was very difficult. However, we finished it on time.
Perfect example. That sentence is completely correct.
I'm starting to see where however is useful.
Yes, it's very common in writing, especially in emails, reports, and essays.
But what about everyday conversations?
In casual conversation, most people simply say but instead of however.
That makes sense. It's shorter and sounds more natural.
Exactly. For example, in a professional email, you might write, however, I suggest we reschedule the meeting.
But when talking to a friend like Jake, I would probably say, but let's reschedule the meeting.
Yes, same message, different style.
I like that distinction.
Here's a fun way to remember it. However wears a tie, but wears a t-shirt.
That's hilarious and actually very helpful.
Now, let me show you something powerful.
I'm listening.
All three words we've discussed today, although, despite, and however, can express the same basic idea.
Really? Even though their grammar is different?
Exactly. The meaning can stay the same, but the structure changes.
Let's test it.
Okay, here's the situation. You were extremely tired, but you still went to the gym.
Got it.
First, say it using although.
Although I was exhausted, I went to the gym.
Excellent. Now say the same idea using despite.
Despite being exhausted, I went to the gym.
Perfect. And I noticed you didn't say despite I was exhausted.
Yes, I remembered the rule. Despite needs a noun or an ing form.
Exactly right. Now try the same situation using however.
I was exhausted, however, I went to the gym.
Beautiful sentence. All three versions are correct.
It's interesting how the meaning stays the same.
Yes, it's like the same message wearing different outfits.
Or maybe like 3 ways to wrap the same gift.
That's a wonderful metaphor.
The present inside the box is the same, but the wrapping paper looks different.
Exactly. Although wraps both ideas inside one sentence. Despite squeezes the first idea into a noun or an ing phrase. However, separates the ideas into 2 full sentences.
That comparison makes everything much clearer.
Now, you might be wondering which one you should use in real life.
Yes, that was actually my next question.
Here's a simple guideline. In casual conversation, although or even though feels the most natural.
That sounds comfortable and easy to say.
Yes, despite sounds a little more polished and slightly more formal.
So maybe something people use in presentations or writing.
Exactly. And however is most common in formal writing and professional speech.
So each word has its own style.
Right. But remember, all 3 are correct.
So it's more about style than correctness.
Exactly.
That's actually reassuring.
Here's another fun way to remember it. Think about shoes.
Shoes?
Yes. Although is like sneakers, comfortable and used every day.
I like sneakers.
Despite is like nice leather shoes, a little more polished.
And however?
However is like formal dress shoes, perfect for business or professional situations.
So English words have dress codes now?
Apparently they do.
That's actually a really helpful way to think about it.
And here's something interesting. In real conversations, people often mix these words naturally.
Like I did in my rainy morning story earlier?
Exactly. You used all 3 without even realizing it.
That's true. It felt completely natural.
That's what native speakers do. They choose whichever word fits the moment.
And now I finally understand why each one worked in my story.
That means your brain is starting to connect all the pieces.
Yes, I can actually feel it clicking together.
Exactly, David. And here's something very interesting. Native English speakers usually don't stop and think about grammar rules when they use words like although, despite, or however.
Really? So they're not thinking about subjects, verbs, clauses, and all those grammar details?
Not at all. Most of the time, they simply feel which word sounds right in that moment.
That's actually reassuring for learners like me.
And that's exactly what we are trying to build today, your natural feeling for these words.
I like that idea. Instead of memorizing rules forever, I want the words to feel natural.
Exactly. Once you hear them enough and practice them, your brain will start choosing the right one automatically.
Can I try something right now?
Of course. Go ahead.
Last week, Lily and I went to a new restaurant that everyone has been talking about. Let me try to describe the experience using all 3 contrast words.
That sounds like a great exercise. Go for it.
Okay, although the restaurant was packed with people, we managed to get a table surprisingly quickly.
Good start. That sentence sounds very natural.
Then, the next part of the story, despite waiting almost 20 minutes for our food, the conversation between Lily and me was so interesting that I didn't even notice the time passing.
Excellent use of despite. And finally, the pasta was a little overcooked, however. That was fantastic. You just told a complete story using all 3 contrast words, and it sounded very smooth and natural.
Honestly, I think the biggest lesson here is not being afraid of these words.
That's a great insight.
They're not that different from the word but. They're just slightly more formal or stylish versions of but.
That is actually the perfect way to think about it.
So they're basically but wearing different outfits for different situations.
Exactly. Different outfits for different occasions.
All right, give me another situation. I want to keep practicing while the ideas are still fresh in my mind.
Okay, imagine your friend asks you about a movie you watched recently.
Good scenario. Let me try again.
Go ahead.
Although the movie reviews online were terrible, I actually enjoyed watching it.
Nice sentence.
Despite the bad acting from some of the characters, the story itself was very interesting.
Excellent use of despite again.
And for the final part, the ending of the movie was a little disappointing, however.
That was incredible. 3 different connectors, all used correctly.
Really? That's good to hear.
Yes, and the best part is that it didn't sound forced at all.
Actually, it felt quite natural while I was saying it.
That's a great sign.
The words just seemed to fall into the right places, like puzzle pieces fitting perfectly together.
That's exactly how language learning should feel.
So the key is not to overthink it.
Exactly. Don't overanalyze every sentence. Your instincts will gradually get sharper.
All right, I'm ready for another challenge.
Okay, tell me about a time when something was very difficult, but you still managed to do it.
Let me think for a moment.
Take your time.
All right, I remember something from last month. I had a huge design project for a brand new client.
That sounds stressful already.
Yes, it definitely was. Although I had absolutely no experience with that particular design style, I decided to accept the job anyway.
That's brave.
It was also exhausting. Despite working until 2 o'clock in the morning every night for an entire week, I actually enjoyed the challenge.
That shows real dedication.
My eyes were burning from staring at the screen for so long, and my back was aching from sitting at my desk.
That sounds painful.
But the excitement of creating something new kept pushing me forward.
Creative energy can be very powerful.
Lily wasn't very happy about my late-night work schedule, however.
Poor Lily. She probably missed spending time with you.
Yes, she definitely did.
But your grammar in that story was flawless.
Really?
Yes, and something else was interesting. You used the 3 words very naturally in different parts of the story.
What do you mean?
You used although at the beginning to give background information, then you used despite in the middle to describe the struggle, and finally you used however at the end to show the consequence.
I didn't even realize I was doing that.
That means your instinct is improving.
Well, Lily forgave me eventually,
That's good news.
despite my terrible sleep schedule during that week.
Look at that! You just used despite again without thinking.
You're right, that one came out automatically.
Before we finish, let's look at a couple of special uses of these words.
Special uses? Now I'm curious.
The word however actually has a second meaning that's a little different.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes, sometimes however means no matter how.
Interesting. Can you give an example?
Sure, listen to this sentence. However difficult it may be, I will try.
So that means no matter how difficult it is.
Exactly.
Let me try another one. However hard I try, I still can't wake up early.
Perfect. That sentence means no matter how hard you try.
I can definitely relate to that problem.
Here are a couple more examples. However long it takes, I will wait. However much it costs, I want it.
That last one describes me perfectly at a coffee shop.
Oh, really?
Yes, however much that oat milk latte costs, I still need it.
That sounds expensive.
My wallet feels the pain, but my soul feels happiness.
That's a very honest confession.
Coffee lovers will understand.
Now, let's look at one more useful expression with despite.
What is it?
The phrase, despite everything.
What does that mean exactly?
It means even with all the problems, challenges, or difficulties.
That sounds like a powerful expression.
It really is. For example, despite everything, I'm grateful for my life.
That's a very positive attitude.
Another example could be, despite everything, we managed to make the project work.
I like that phrase. It sounds strong and emotional.
Yes, and people often use it when they've gone through a difficult situation.
So even after all the problems, they still found a way forward.
Exactly. When people say something like, despite everything, you can almost feel the emotional weight behind the words.
Yes, I can imagine that feeling. It's like someone is holding all their struggles, problems, and disappointments in their hands.
Exactly. And even after holding all that difficulty, they are still saying something powerful.
Something like, I'm still here, I'm still standing.
Yes, that's the idea. When you say, despite everything, it often feels like your chest opens a little because you're acknowledging the hardships, but also showing strength.
That's a beautiful way to describe it.
Language can be very emotional sometimes, not just grammatical.
I like that perspective.
Now, let's talk about another conversational pattern that uses although.
Oh, I'm curious about this one.
Sometimes people say, although, having said that, when they want to balance their opinion.
So they make one point first and then add a contrast afterward.
Exactly. It helps show that you understand both sides of a situation.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine someone is talking about a restaurant. They might say, the restaurant was very expensive, although, having said that, the food was incredible.
That sounds very natural.
Yes, it's very common in everyday conversations.
I think I've heard people use phrases like that many times.
It's especially useful during discussions when you want to sound balanced and thoughtful.
So it shows you're considering both positives and negatives.
Exactly.
That's a useful communication skill, not just a grammar trick.
Absolutely.
Are there any other short expressions like that?
Yes, there's a very simple one people often use in casual speech.
What is it?
Sometimes people say, despite that.
Just 2 words?
Yes, just 2 words. For example, I was completely exhausted after work. Despite that, I went to the gym.
That sounds very clean and natural.
Exactly. It's like a shorter version of despite everything.
I like how simple it is.
There's also a casual conversational use of although that many learners find interesting.
What kind of use?
Sometimes people say although at the end of a sentence and then stop.
Wait, they don't finish the sentence?
Exactly. It's called a trailing although.
That sounds funny.
Let me give an example. Someone might say, I should probably go home now, although...
And then they stay longer?
Exactly. The word although hints that they are changing their mind.
That reminds me of Lily.
What does she do?
She often says, I should leave now, although... And then she ends up staying for another hour.
That's actually very common behavior.
And then she sits on the couch watching Netflix for another episode.
That trailing although is very real conversational English.
So once learners start noticing it, they'll probably hear it everywhere.
Exactly.
That's one of the fun parts of learning English. Suddenly you start recognizing patterns in real conversations.
Before we finish, let's ask a quick question for everyone listening.
Yes, this is a great moment for practice.
Think about something you did recently, even though you didn't want to do it.
Maybe you went to the gym, studied late, or finished an important task.
Now, try saying it out loud using one of our contrast words.
You could say it using despite, although, or however.
Even if you're alone in your room, just say the sentence aloud.
Your brain learns much faster when it hears your own voice practicing.
Exactly. Speaking is a powerful learning tool.
All right, let's review everything we learned today because we covered a lot of important information.
Yes, let's go through the key points step by step. First, let's review although.
The rule is simple. Although plus a clause.
That means you must use a subject and a verb after it.
For example, although it was raining, we went out.
Another example, although she was young, she was very wise.
And remember, although has the same meaning as even though.
Exactly. Both introduce contrast.
So we can say, even though it was raining, we went out.
Same meaning, same idea. Now let's move to the second word, despite.
This one has a very important grammar rule.
Yes, despite must be followed by a noun or a gerund.
That means no full clause after despite.
For example, despite the rain, we went outside.
Or, despite being tired, I kept studying.
And remember the common mistake.
Never say, despite I was tired.
Exactly. Instead say, despite being tired.
Let's repeat the rule together. Noun or ing form only.
That is the most important grammar point from today's lesson. Third, let's review however.
However works as a sentence connector.
That means it connects two separate sentences.
For example, it was raining, however, we went for a walk.
Notice the comma after however.
And remember, however often sounds more formal.
Yes, it's very common in emails, essays, and professional writing.
That's why we jokingly said, however wears a tie.
Fourth, we learned about in spite of.
In spite of has exactly the same meaning as despite.
And it follows the same grammar rule.
For example, in spite of the noise, I slept well.
It might look like three words, but it works like a single expression. Fifth, we compared the grammar differences.
Let's summarize them clearly. Although plus clause, despite plus noun or ing, however plus new sentence.
Three different grammar structures, but they all express contrast.
It's like wrapping the same gift in three different types of paper.
Finally, we looked at a special use of however.
In this case, however means no matter how.
For example, however hard I try, I cannot solve this problem.
Or, however long it takes, I will finish this project.
This usage shows determination and persistence.
And it adds a strong emotional emphasis to the sentence.
Let's continue with another important use of however.
Right, earlier we learned that however can also mean no matter how.
Exactly. When we use however in that way, it adds intensity and determination to a sentence.
So it shows strong willpower.
Yes, that's right. For example, however difficult the situation becomes, I will keep trying.
That sounds very powerful.
Another example could be, however long the journey takes, we will reach our goal.
So in both cases, the meaning is no matter how difficult or no matter how long.
Exactly. It emphasizes determination.
I like that use because it sounds motivational.
Now let's look at another beautiful expression we mentioned earlier.
You mean despite everything.
Yes, this expression is very emotional and meaningful.
It means even with all the difficulties, problems, or setbacks.
Exactly. For example, despite everything, I'm still standing.
That sentence feels strong and inspiring.
Another example could be, despite everything, I'm grateful for what I have.
I like that one. It shows appreciation even during hard times.
Yes, it acknowledges the struggle while also showing inner strength.
It's the kind of expression people use when they have gone through a lot.
Exactly. Now let's talk about something practical, the formality scale.
Ah, yes, the scale that compares although, despite, and however.
Right. Imagine these words as different types of shoes.
I remember that metaphor.
Although is like sneakers.
Comfortable, casual, and perfect for everyday conversation.
Exactly. Then we have despite, which is like nice, polished shoes.
Slightly more formal, but still natural in conversation.
Right. And finally, however, is like formal dress shoes.
The kind you wear for professional writing or formal situations.
Exactly.
So all three words are correct.
Yes, the difference is mostly about style, not correctness.
That's important for learners to remember.
Now let's review another grammar point about although.
The position of although in a sentence.
Yes, although can appear at the beginning or in the middle of a sentence.
For example, although I was tired, I continued working.
Or we can say, I continued working although I was tired.
Both sentences sound natural.
Exactly. That flexibility makes although very convenient. Let's also mention another interesting way to use however.
What's that?
Sometimes people place however near the end of a sentence to soften their statement.
That sounds useful in polite conversations.
Yes, for example, the coffee was cold. However, I appreciate your effort.
That sounds polite and diplomatic.
Exactly. Instead of sounding too critical, it balances the message.
That's very helpful in professional communication.
Yes, especially in emails and workplace conversations. All right, David, that was a really great discussion about although, despite, and however.
Yes, we covered a lot of useful information today.
Now we have a question for everyone listening.
Yes, we always enjoy hearing your answers.
Think about something in your life that was difficult, but you continued doing it anyway.
Maybe it was studying for a tough exam, learning a new skill, or finishing a challenging project.
Now try writing a sentence about it using one of today's words.
You can use although, despite, or however.
Share your sentence in the comments.
We truly enjoy reading your responses and seeing how you practice English.
And if you enjoyed today's lesson, please remember to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend who is also learning English.
Learning together makes the process much more fun.
Absolutely.
We'll be back tomorrow with another simple and helpful English conversation.
Until then, keep practicing and keep speaking.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.